Well, thank you, Joe, for having me here and for hosting another great soapbox. Your talk was incredibly informative, as was Kyle's. I don't think I'll be designing a level or going to Gamescom to showcase my game anytime soon. I can't promise you the informativeness of those two talks, but I can give you some warm, fuzzy feelings as to how Scottish Games has funded an incredible initiative in your local children's hospital. My name is Stephen Mair. I am the Gamer in Residence at the Royal Hostel for Children in Glasgow, which is a position funded and provided by Glasgow Children's Hospital charity, where I've worked for just over 2 years, firstly in the marketing department of the charity, and now in my current remit since the 1st of July. So the Gamer in Residence, this is kind of like a little bit, half to a third, depends how long I take, of a talk I did at Games Talks Live in April of 2023. So forgive me if anyone that was there that is maybe hearing a little bit of old ground getting raked over, but I've met quite a few new people tonight, so hopefully this will be really informative for everyone. Games for the Wains is the campaign by Glasgow Children's Hospital charity to help children game in your local children's hospital at Govan. It's just attached to the big massive Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and it sees 550 patients per day. That's inpatients across 256 beds and outpatients as well coming in for appointments. This campaign began just as a little conversation of how do we get gamers, streamers involved in fundraising for our patients, and a few months later it became this, Games for the Wains. Wains, for anyone who's not from Glasgow, is a word for children, as I've had to explain quite a few times. We talked to Neil Slorence, the illustrator. You may recognise this artwork, some of you, from some of his other illustrations, and a few months later it was a thing, Games for the Wains, our campaign for the gamers of Scotland to fundraise for the little gamers of Scotland in hospital. So this is me, just very pixelated in the corner here, sort of introducing this for the first time in April 2023 at Games Talks Live. I introduced 5 patients who we met just in 1 week at the Children's Hospital and how all of them interacted with gaming to make their stay in hospital a little bit easier. I'll go through that just now. Some of you may have already heard their stories. Lukash in the top left corner had just received a kidney transplant on Valentine's Day. He named his kidney Valentino. He was playing Cuphead when we came in, and he really wants to be an artist one day, and he was breaking down the sort of artistic style of Cuphead. Lukash is so passionate about that game, and we felt that having a gamer in residence who was on his kind of level to game in the Children's Hospital with him would be something really beneficial. Cassie in the bottom left there was in isolation. She has cystic fibrosis, so that meant that she couldn't quite interact with some of the other kids in the playrooms and other spaces of the hostel, quite like some of the others that are on the screen here. So she had to play alone. She was playing Minecraft when we went and visited her. Lucas in the top right corner there, his PlayStation jumper was not planned. He is just that much of a gamer. He likes his FIFA, he has a rare gastrointestinal condition, and also lives with autism. So he likes to play in a specific way with his headphones on. Benji in the bottom right there came all the way down from the Highlands for his cancer treatment. He's a massive Mario fan. That's a Mario Kart t-shirt he's got on, and Yoshi he's giving him a piggyback there. We met Benji in the Schehallien ward. So Schehallien is the oncology cancer ward of the hospital. It's named as such after the real mountain in Scotland that has false peaks, which is described by Professor Brenda Gibson, who was the sort of head of this area of the hospital for many years. The sort of false peaks of that mountain sort of mirror a journey through cancer, but eventually you get to the top. There's every year some of the families will go to Schehallien and some of them will climb it and have a wee base camp sort of thing. But Benji was really into Mario. We played Super Mario Odyssey together. I'll show you a little picture of us in the next slide. And by the time I had to leave the tween room of Schehallien, he was practically hanging around my ankles because he'd enjoyed our time together so much, and that really sort of put into perspective, here's why we're maybe thinking of, could we actually fund a gamer in the Children's Hospital? And Grace, lastly, is also in the same space of the hostel, but she was in the teenage cancer unit. Grace used virtual reality to sort of get through her chemotherapy, which she'd obviously already experienced as her neuroblastoma had returned. This is another wee picture of myself and Benji in the tween room. You can see Super Mario Odyssey on in the background. This is obviously quite dated, you can tell, because I'm still wearing a face mask here. But this was sort of the genesis of the idea that we could have a paid full-time gamer in the Children's Hospital for our young patients. So a little bit more about my role is that's part of it. I will head up a team of gaming volunteers as well who will do the same thing. We're actively still recruiting for volunteers who come into the Children's Hospital and game for 3 hours a week. I'll introduce you to a few of them in a wee moment. Shortly after these photos were taken, we then spoke to a service design agency called Spark, and they produced this brilliant sort of map of what the gaming service in the Children's Hospital would look like. Up the top there, you'll see I used to be called Raya. That was just a placeholder and stock image before we actually sort of scoped this out, and I was made this title, essentially. The play team below Raya are very much real. They are the keepers of fun in the Children's Hospital, and I work with them very closely week on week. Their patient cohort will change very, very rapidly. For example, Claire, who works on Ward 2C, which is where you go after A&E if you still need to stay in the hospital. They have 40 beds in there, and it's not uncommon for all 40 of those beds to see one child by Monday, and then by Friday there's a different child in there. So there's a high turnover and a lot of potential new gamers that come into the hostel who need a wee gaming pal. We sort of scoped out this little map here of how the service will work. So when you arrive, you talk to the play team. If you're a little gamer, then the play team can let me know, and I can then go up and game with the patients, or a volunteer can on their specific shift as well. We're also working on a specific space in the hospital to game in. You saw the tween room of the Shahalian ward earlier, but not all wards have that sort of functionality. They're lucky enough to have that space, and it's a really well-equipped space, but not all the wards have that space. So we're working on where we can sort of store all our gaming stuff. And we're also working with the sort of financial inclusion and family support services as well, for our potential Gamer for Life programme, and seeing, is there something we can actually give patients upon discharge to make sure that what they've experienced in hospital, if they've been able to try out a new game, for example, in the hospital, they can go home and enjoy that same experience. Some of you may have been involved in this fantastic initiative in September. We held a brilliant event here at the Barclays Eagle Labs to celebrate the Scottish Game Sale. Neon Hive, the gaming PR agency and publisher, were absolutely fantastic in putting this together, and I'd be remiss without giving them a massive shout out. They worked long hours in getting around 30 Scottish developers or games that were set in Scotland to be part of this sale. They also told us to lean into the stereotypes with this artwork, because Steam's very international. I don't know if you think we managed that with the haggis, see you Jimmy hat, and the saltire and Nessie and all that. But this raised over £16,000, which was just absolutely phenomenal, and I just want to thank anyone in this room who was part of this campaign. That wasn't the only fundraiser in Scottish Games. There's a few others just on screen here. Hyperluminal Games sent 70 walkers to the Dundee Kilt Walk, raising over £5,000. Next to them there is the Caledonian Chargers, the esports team of Caledonian Uni. They also raised over £5,000. And Astro Dreamer Studio in the bottom there did a sponsored hike up the Sidlaws in Dundee, raising £890. There's also loads of creators and streamers that would do sort of charity streams with their communities that also raised a lot, so a massive thank you to all of them as well. This space might look quite familiar. It's just through next door. We had an event on the launch day of the Steam sale to celebrate everyone coming together and trying to raise as much funds as possible. John McKellen from No Code is there. Is Kyle still about? No, he's just next door. Well, a massive thank you to No Code for all their amazing work as well in helping this campaign go as well as it did. They were massive supporters during this campaign as well, as were our sponsors Nereal, Geekaboo, Neon Hive, BGSS and Spark, and Ninja Kiwi as well in Dundee. We also had some very little fundraisers. Jack here, these are both from this year. Jack on the left is halfway through 7 challenges that he's doing for the charity. This is from his birthday party that was at Soccer World. He collected donations instead of presents and wanted to fundraise to get a new PlayStation for the ward that he sometimes is in. And similarly, Dara on the right there also collected donations to fundraise for new consoles on his ward 3B. So now, after all of that, that's all the fundraising, all the groundwork that went into this. Now is what we're sort of up to. These are Rockin' R consoles. The Rockin' R is a charity in Leeds that was set up after the sad passing of a young boy called Reese. Reese loved to game, and he continued that passion even when he was in his local children's hospital. So his sister Jess, who's second from the left there, and dad Johnny worked to create these special hospital adapted gaming carts. This is when we got a couple of them delivered in July to Ward 1C, which is the daycare unit when children come in for a procedure during the day and then leave later on. So they're often kind of left to their own devices for quite a long time up in the ward. So we got these 2 carts in to make sure they could still play while they're up receiving their procedure. Behind me there is Nikki from the play team and the lead nurse Michael on the left, who fundraised for these. They come preloaded with about 12 games, either on an Xbox or Nintendo Switch. They're lockable, which is a very important thing for a hostel that has 550 families coming in, and the discs, this is the one thing, the discs get scratched or frisbeed across the room more times than you can count. So having all the games preloaded on the consoles as they come, this is a massive upgrade to the Nintendo Xbox 360s that have come over from the old York Hill Hospital, which was nearly 10 years ago now. So having these new systems in, thanks to the efforts of Scottish Games, has just been phenomenal for our young patients and myself and the play team that we work with as well. This is a real sort of testimony from one of the nurses on Ward 3C, which is renal and ortho. I played Minecraft with a girl, Summer, for the afternoon. We went out taming some wolves and building a house while she had her plasma exchange procedure, which is quite invasive. There's a nurse in the corner taking notes the whole time, and there's tubes and big machines and stuff. So having Minecraft and being able to play with Summer during that sort of procedure was really, really helpful. And again, that's all thanks to the help of the Scottish Games industry. We've also been lucky to have the support of Child's Play, which is an American charity. They call this position the Therapeutic Video Game Guide. I much prefer Gamer in Residence, which actually came from Dr. Lynn Love from Abertay University. They support 10 or more, over 10 hospitals in the UK and Ireland, but Glasgow is the first one to have a full-time hospital gamer, and that's, again, thanks to Scottish Games. This is Sam, one of our gaming volunteers, with Charlie and Freddie. I don't know if this will just play automatically while I'm speaking here. So Charlie here, this is just from Wednesday. Yes, that's yesterday, right? Yeah. Charlie, earlier in the week, just learned he was diabetic. So it's been quite a turbulent week for Charlie. But Sam was able to come in yesterday and play Mario Kart with him for an hour or so and take his mind off all the whirlwind of emotions that him and his family are feeling right now. In the bottom left is Freddie there. Freddie is thinking about getting a Nintendo Switch for Christmas. This was the first time he played one with Sam. I think you can tell from Charlie's facial expressions there just how much they're engrossed, both of them, in the game. But yeah, So our gaming volunteers come into the hostel for 3 hours each week. You can have a set shift, or it can vary depending on when you're free during the week, and it is during 9 to 5, Monday to Friday sort of time. We also have some famous gaming volunteers. Matt O'Reilly, the former Celtic player, now of Brighton, would come in for 3 hours just on his day off from training. We're due to send him some good luck cards in the post for his new club. Not to be outdone, our famous supporters, the Glasgow Warriors, who have supported us for many, many a year, this Premier Rugby club in Scotland. They also came in for a special gaming visit as well. But whether you're famous or not, we are incredibly lucky to have the support of our volunteers in the hostel, and our gaming volunteers are no different. I just want to say, before I sort of get into the part where I ask you for your help or your money, I know that since we started Games for the Wains and the sort of Gamer in Residence and the Gaming Service project, it has kind of come at a time where the games industry has endured quite a lot of difficulty. And I just want to say to everyone that has helped us so far and will help us in the future, a massive thank you, that in a time where there's a lot going on in your world, you've come to our world and helped our children. It really, really means a lot. But if you would like to help our campaign in the future, we have a few options. We're currently still looking for new sponsors for the campaign. We're looking to create an esports jersey for Glasgow's Children's Hospital. Your studio's logo could be on the front of that jersey for a fee. You can also sponsor a console that comes into the ward, get a little certificate, a little sort of handover sort of ceremony in the hostel, and I'd be absolutely delighted to give you a tour of some of the other stuff that we fund as well. You could also fundraise, like some of the people I spoke about earlier in this talk. You could do some gaming stuff, such as streaming, if you are a streamer in your spare time. You could take part in a games bake sale if you get any bakers in your team that might like to make some Mushroom Kingdom cupcakes or things of that nature. I'm sure you can think of something much better than that. Or a sponsored gaming day in your office as well. Or you can go down the more traditional route, such as the walkers that I mentioned earlier. We actually, in just a couple of weeks, have Cammy Bear's Teddy Trail, which is a sponsored family walk. Basically, the idea is you take your kids, they bring their teddy bear, and you get to meet the big mascot bear, Cammy Bear, in a 5k or a 10k walk around Glasgow. There's also the Great Scottish Run in October, which we have free charity places for, or the Kilt Walks will start back up next year. April is usually when the Glasgow one is, so if you'd like to take part in that, you could do so. And you could also be a gaming volunteer for just 3 hours per week. I know it's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, so that might not suit a lot of people, but if you would like to give up your time and volunteer, we are really... yeah, it's just a fantastic way to spend your time, and all of our volunteers that have been in so far seem to have gotten a lot out of the process. It's playing games, it's making children smile. There's really not much of a downside in our opinion. So thank you so much for listening. I've kind of cut this a little bit short just because I know we're a wee bit behind, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to catch me next door. I've also got some flyers as well if you'd like to take them back to the office, but thank you so much.